Okay, let's do this. How to become super powerful. It all has to do with your ability to find your superpowers or your soulmate or your divine place, your divine location. Divine is a dumb word. It just means super, super powerful place. What's it based on? Physics. Waves of radiation creating harmonics. And there's only two types of harmonics, consonance and dissonance. They're both a part of harmonics. What is harmonics? What is consonance, dissonance? What are waves of radiation? Here's the complex answer. This is from a university lecture in physics. I'll get to the simple answer in a second, but first I'm going to show you how complex this stuff is. These are waves and plotted along harmonic resonance and music, and as you can see, notes and whether they're dissonant or consonant. What makes notes consonant? What makes notes dissonant? Oh, consonant means they work well together and they amplify each other. They're harmonic. They sound good together. Dissonance means it's like fingernails on a chalkboard. They sound horrible together. It works with sound, it works with radiation, it works with X-rays, gamma rays, it works with ultraviolet light, it works with everything. It works with anything. Some things go together and some things don't go together. Some things clash and some things make each other super powerful. And you are made of these things. But more in a second. Everything has radiation, everything has waves, and everything can be made to have certain waves. And this is all, anyway, so this is how complicated this stuff is. It happens to music, it happens to light, like I said, it happens to any kind of radiation, even the radiation that you have in the doctor's office when you go to the dentist and they take x-rays of you. Okay, so here's a simple example. Here's what happens when you have rays or light or waves or anything that's consonant. So this is a magnifying glass, it's a lens. And what he's doing is he's trying to melt this thing. Here it is. He's trying to melt this thing with that lens. And he's trying to melt it. He's trying to melt it right here. Now mind you, he's trying to melt steel. And notice what's happening. This is super, super heat resistant. Look at that. And all he's doing is collecting and focusing light that just happens to hit your skin so lightly, but when you focus it together, you get, yes, superpowers. You can find your soulmate that creates your superpowers or your divine place. Anyway, look at this. It's burning, literally metal. It melts and burns metal. This is the front. It's too bright, he can't even film it. This is the back. And bam, look at that. Actually melted through metal. It's just melting through metal, no problem. That's how strong. This is what happens when you focus together waves, light waves or radiation or sound or anything that is consonant.
Complete obliteration.
All right, so this is destroyed. So he's going to try a blade from a carpet cutting knife.
Complete obliteration. This is a blade from a carpet knife.
Metal just gets destroyed. Look at that. Metal just melts like paper. And falls off. And it's all because of matching the way the Fresnel lens, this lens, matches consonant light rays or waves to this ratio. Now I'm going to show you other stuff. This is an example of dissonance. Dissonance.
Here are 5 monster waves that were caught on camera.
Where the waves are opposite each other. Oh, just show us the waves. Show us the waves. Seriously. Look at that.
I don't know about it.
When you have a earthquake in one place and a tsunami or a typhoon in another place, the waves go in opposite directions, and when they clash, this is how strong these clashes are. These clashes literally, this is how powerful these clashes are. Now I'm going to show you how these sound waves affect actual physical matter. This is a speaker and this is a water faucet. Okay, here's the speaker and there's a water faucet that's going to be right in front of it. And it's going to flow with water. Here it is. He set up the water faucet and he's going to turn on the water and then turn on the speaker. It's just regular water flowing. But this is a 24 hertz sine wave. This is what happens to the water from the side. This is not an illusion. This is real time. You can do it yourself. You can actually use your voice and do this at tap water. Notice how sound changes physics, changes physical matter, changes the frequency, and the way the water flows changes. This is in 3 dimensions. And all he's doing is changing the frequency with his hand. Now I'm going to show you what happens in 2 dimensions on the flat plane when you put sound underneath. So there's a tone generator. There, underneath all that sand, there's a... just show us what happens. Seriously, this is so slow. Look, he changes the frequency of the sound, and vibration starts to happen and changes physical matter, changes the shape. Now, don't think of this as salt on a metal plate. Think of this as your DNA. Think of this as your molecules in your DNA. Think of this as your adenosine triphosphate, your adenine, guanine. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And all you do is change frequencies. Look at this frequency change right here. As he changes frequencies, shapes change. And you get different shapes. Now, imagine if you tried to force a different shape in this frequency. Let's say I drew an X. Let's say I drew a random X in here at this frequency. What would happen? X would not be permitted to exist. You cannot exist. An X or a circle. Let's say I just drew a circle here with salt. Circles cannot exist at this frequency. It's impossible for a circle or an X or a zigzag or the letter Z or a heart shape. If I drew a heart shape here, it's impossible for the heart shape to exist at this frequency. Only this shape can exist at this frequency. Only this shape can exist at this frequency. Only this shape can exist at this frequency. Frequencies create the DNA that creates us. Everyone already knows this. National Library of Medicine, NIH, already knows that there are genetic effects of radiation. Radiation changes the way our genes, sometimes if bad radiation can damage our genes, certain radiations, they all create mutation. There's a mutagenic effect. So we've seen the effects of radiation and light and sound waves and light waves, burning rock, burning metal, making shapes, making 3-dimensional shapes. But where do we get the most amount of radiation from that affects our DNA? Where's the radiation come from that affects our DNA? This is just sound. This is just light. What affects our DNA? Well, here it is. Centers for Disease Control explains it. It's cosmic radiation. It comes from space. And this is where we get all that radiation. It's how these planets move through space and then they radiate the Earth. So if this blue planet is the Earth, we're getting all this radiation from the sun. We're getting radiation from even gravity is radiation. We're getting gravity radiation from Jupiter, from Saturn, from Venus, from Mars, and especially the sun. And then the rest of these guys, these huge galaxies and nebulas from the rest of the universe. Wow, look at how beautiful that is. Look at that, 3-dimensional. Oof, I love how beautiful this is. Anyway, so this is how they move. They move around each other as they're flying through space, through time. Isn't that gorgeous? And as they move around each other, guess what? The radiation that we get on the Earth is constantly changing, as you can imagine. These 3 planets are really close to the Earth, and then these 3 planets in the sun are really far from the Earth. And then they get really close to this Earth, and then they get really far. And then they're all on one side of the Earth, and then the Earth is right in between them. And then they're all on one side. They gang up on the Earth on one side, and then they split up, and there's only one planet behind the Earth. And then Earth is in front, and then Earth is in back. Earth is number 2. It's in the middle. It's in the side. It's at the end. It just keeps going back and forth, and they keep changing. And you know what happens? I'm going to show you. As planets get closer to the Earth, the waves accelerate. The wave length shorten. And do this. That's what happens when they get farther away from the Earth. Let's do that again. Closer, 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 super, super close, and then farther, farther, farther. One more time. This is what's happening. This is you. Your first DNA, you were a one-celled organism at one point. You only had one cell. Right now you have billions of cells. But you only had one cell at one point when the sperm of your dad entered your mom's egg cell. because they had sex. At this time, if the planets, if the sun, if the other planets started getting closer and closer and closer to you, closer to you, closer to you, closer to you, bam! And then you were made. And then the planets started getting further away. This is the energy you were born with. This is the frequency of energy you were born with, which makes you this exact energetic signature, which makes you only compatible, only consonant with people that are compatible with this frequency, only consonant with times, moments in time that are consonant with this frequency, only consonant with places that have consonants with this frequency. Everything has consonance and dissonance. Everything has something that matches. Everything has something that clashes. Matches, clashes. Matches, clashes. And so, since everything has a different wave, and you were born with this particular wave, or maybe you were born here, maybe you were born here, or maybe you were born here, or maybe you were born here, regardless, wherever you were born along this radiation amplitude and frequency, there's a certain number of other frequencies based on radiation that you are compatible with and that you are not compatible with. And since everything in the universe, whether it's a place, whether it's a person, or whether it's a time that enables certain energies, since everything is made under these influences, under these radiations, with these frequencies, there's going to be certain people that you're compatible with and incompatible with. There's going to be places that are going to bring out the best in you, that are going to supercharge you, that are going to make you feel fantastic. And there are certain places that will actually drain you of energy and kill you, slowly kill you. There are super moments in time that make you super powerful. There are along the axis of time. And then there are certain moments in time that will make you weak and even give you disease because they clash with your frequency. You might think, no, frequency can't destroy me. Sure, there's radiation, and every radiation is based on frequency and waves. I understand that. Even gravity is based on gravitational waves. I understand that. Light, waves. Sound, waves. Water, waves. I understand that. Everything is based on waves. Okay, but waves can't destroy me. Waves can't make me super powerful. Can they? Let's see what waves can do. You know what waves can do now.
With a pencil.
So what he did was figure out the frequency of this glass.
Produces a sound, aka the glass starts vibrating.
Here we go.
Yeah, about that. Seems to be good. I'm gonna take this out. Let's crank it. 504 hertz. Whoa! Wow! Just blew off the back. Blimey.
Look at what happens.
Liquid.
Be interested to see where the break
Slow motion.
starts. Whether in the stem or at the top. Very much doubt it would start randomly in the middle. It's going to be at a point of weakness. Oh! Seems to be
Isn't that
right
beautiful?
in front there. Wow! Still extremely fast. Even at 82,000 frames a second, that was fast. Yeah.
So, based on when you were born, whether you were born here, when you're farthest away from the sun, which would mean that the earth is as cold as it's ever going to be, or whether you're born in summer when you're super, super close to the sun and when it's super, super hot, the frequency that you get from the sun, all the radiation that you get from the sun is different. As you approach the sun, you get super, super high frequency radiation from the sun. And as you start moving away from the sun, the radiation starts to weaken. And as you start getting closer to the sun again, and remember, you're not traveling around the sun in a perfect circle. You're traveling around the sun in an egg-shaped oval. And that's only because, well, you are. You're just traveling around the sun in an egg-shaped oval. Don't think of this as a circle, because if it was a perfect circle, then the frequency would be the same all the way throughout. You wouldn't get closer to the sun. You wouldn't get farther to the sun. That's why there's something called an apogee. Now, look it up. Look up apogee. And then as you get closer to the sun, and then farther away from the sun, So the frequency that you get from the sun, and then this is just the sun. We're not considering Jupiter over here. Come on, Jupiter here, and then Venus here, and then Mars over here. Mars should be over here. And all these planets also have an impact on you, and they also go around the sun. So as this happens, you get this weird flower pattern, this daisy pattern, and I'll show you what pattern you get. Okay, so this is Earth and Saturn and the sun. This is how the radiation that we get from the sun and Saturn strengthens and weakens as we travel around the sun. Isn't this a beautiful pattern? Anyway, so these patterns, these wavelengths get more and more complicated. You can't just express with one wavelength the type of radiation or the frequency or the amplitude of the radiation that we get from the sun and the other planets with one single wave. So you have to use a multi-dimensional wave. Okay, so I get that everything creates frequencies, but these are the questions that are left now. How do I know what frequencies you get from each planet or the sun? How do you know what frequency I get? Is there a way to measure these things? And how do you know what frequencies are compatible? Once you figure out what frequencies you get from the sun, Jupiter, Mars, Earth, Venus, whatever, the nebulas. Number two, how do I know what frequencies are even compatible or incompatible, consonant or dissonant? This is how, there's a formula for it. And surprisingly, the formula is not this complicated. This is a super complex formula, but the answer is really simple. Consonance occurs when length but anyway, this is the frequency. Is this weird that, do these numbers somehow look familiar to you? Do they look familiar? Well, they're all real basic numbers. Do these, notice how the numbers with the fours are not consonant. They don't match, but the numbers with the 1, 2, 3 and the fives are. And the 6 is not also. It's not consonant. But why? Do they look familiar? Anyway, there's dissonance. Dissonance occurs when the length of string segments frequency ratios are far from and are not integers. So I could go on and explain this in detail, but let's just skip over this. You can do the research on your own if you're interested on this part. This is it. This shows you consonance and dissonance. How many intersection points do you think there are going to be in total? I'll give you the answer. This is Earth and Venus. This is Venus, this is the Earth, around the sun. There's going to be 5 total. What's fascinating about this is that the amount of times that the Earth travels around the sun is 8 times for every 5 times. So for every 5 times that the Earth goes around the sun, Venus goes around the sun 8 times. Fascinating. This is going to be Earth and Saturn.
Earth and the sun, and by definition,
Actually, sorry, Jupiter. Earth and Jupiter.
Jupiter last night, but I have included that. Just let's zoom a little bit more.
And then let's see what happens. Let's see what pattern comes up.
And outmost
When the Earth and Jupiter and the sun are put into the same orbit.
These parts also hold a rich treasure of, consider that part of the planet, then from retrograde path. So with this knowledge now, let us observe the Saturn. And you can see more things.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Jupiter's path.
I'll give you the answer.
11
For every one time Jupiter revolves around the sun, Earth revolves around the sun 13 times. 1, 2, 3. 1 to 13.
confirm.
This is Saturn. Guess what Saturn is?
So this is a dance of planets.
Saturn is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think it's 34. I think this is
It's not tango.
34.
Orbit.
Wait a second. Did you say 5 times for Earth and then 8 times for Venus? And then 1 time for Earth and then 13 times for Jupiter and then 23 times or something? Or 20, what was that? 20, hold on. I think it was 23 times. Where's my mouse? There it is. 34 times, sorry. 34 times for Saturn. Don't those numbers look familiar? Don't these numbers look familiar? Yep. Ta-da. It's really simple. It's the golden ratio. 3, Earth, Venus, 5, 8, 13 for Jupiter, and this was Saturn. I think this is, was this, it's not Mars, it's some other planet anyway. It's 21 to 1 ratio on revolving around the sun against the Earth. So to use these facts to calculate the kind of radiation you get, and to calculate who is compatible with you, where is compatible, when it's compatible with you to make you super powerful, super in love, super everything, is this. It's a feng shui dial that nobody really knows how to use until now. And this is what it looks like. And this is the English version of the feng shui dial. This tells you who you're compatible with and who you're not compatible with, what places you're compatible with, what places you're not compatible with, and what moments will make you super powerful and what moments will make you super rich or super weak. And it's all interpreted by the allegory of these animals. These animals are symbols of the same types of wavelengths that you have. So if you're born here, these numbers are all wrong, by the way. We recalculated and refixed all those numbers. But if you were born in the same year of the rat, then the tendencies that went inside the rat, the same frequencies, went inside you. If you were born in the same year of the dragon, then the same year that created a dragon, which doesn't exist, created you. Exactly the same frequencies that go inside you, go inside other people, go inside other places, go inside specific powers at specific times that get unleashed. And these are the hours of day. So not only do these animals and these tendencies, these frequencies apply during the year, which is the sun, they apply during the day, which is the Earth's rotation. And then they also apply during the month, which is the moon's rotation around the Earth. So this is what FutureView does. FutureView.app shows you who you're compatible with and who you're not compatible with. If you were born in horse year, horse month, dragon day, and goat hour, what does that make you compatible with? Well, what about this person? It tells you that nope, this year, this person, this location is going to be contrary to you. It's going to make everything you do fail. As far as your feelings, your emotional senses, it's not going to affect you emotionally very much. Physically, it's going to hurt you. You're going to be weak. Your body's not going to respond well. What about your actions, your activity? Well, if you're the tiger, you're going to be great in activities. The things you do are going to work out well. But if you're the goat, everything you do will fail as well. This tells you, based on your birth date and based on the actual moment in time, or someone else's birth date, the result of whether you're going to have consonants and have the power of the sun burning through metal through a lens, or dissonance, like sound hitting glass, like waves crashing against